He will call and text you, I am immédiatel, after this. You ever notice how men always seem to remember what they once had only after it's gone? See, a man doesn't miss your good morning texts when he's getting them. He doesn't value your time when he's used to you always being around. But the moment you stop, the moment you shift that energy and stop showing up for him more than you show up for you, that man starts wondering, starts texting you good, starts calling at midnight like he forgot how time zones work. Let me tell you something, you don't get his attention by begging for it. You don't get his respect by chasing him. You don't get his love by reminding him of your worth. You get all of that the moment you realize you never needed him to validate what was already valuable. And here's the kicker. When you stop showing up, he starts showing up because silence, it speaks, it screams. It makes a man sit in the consequences of his distance, his inconsistency, his ego. You want to know when he'll call? The moment you stop waiting for him to. That's the secret right there. Because when you're not pressed, when you're not posting quotes to get his attention, when you glow up instead of show up, when you protect your peace instead of fighting for a place in his life, he feels it. See, men don't chase when they feel secure. They chase when they feel replaced. You were his comfort zone. Now you're a mystery. You were always available. Now you're unreachable. Not out of revenge, but out of rebuilding. And what's wild? The moment you're busy healing, laughing, building, becoming, he'll text. He'll call. He'll say he's been thinking. Of course he has. Because the version of you he took for granted, that version doesn't answer the phone anymore. And let me say this real clear. When he calls, and he will, you don't owe him the old you. You don't owe him the access. You don't owe him the explanations. Because sometimes the real closure is when he reaches out and you realize you no longer need the response. Stop reaching out. Stop chasing. When you reclaim your energy and stop feeding his ego, that silence will echo louder than any text ever could. Sometimes the loudest message you can send is no message at all. In a world where people expect constant access to you, the moment you choose to go silent, intentionally, not bitterly, you shift the entire dynamic. Because chasing doesn't win love. Overgiving doesn't earn respect. And begging for crumbs only convinces someone they're the whole loaf. You've been calling. You've been texting. You've been checking in, showing up, explaining yourself, repeating your worth like you just forgot. But deep down you know, if someone really wanted to talk to you, they would. If someone really wanted to be in your life, they'd be present. Not just when it's convenient, not just when they're bored, not just when they realize you're slipping away. There's a point in every woman's journey where she has to stop doing the emotional labor for two. That point is now. The moment you stop reaching out, you start reaching inward. You begin to redirect your love, your presence, your attention to the one person who actually deserves it, you. That's not selfishness. That's survival. That's emotional wisdom. When you chase a man who isn't showing up, you're teaching him that he doesn't have to. You're training him to expect you'll always be there, regardless of how he treats you. But when you withdraw your energy, you disrupt the pattern. Suddenly, his comfort zone disappears. His ego doesn't get fed. His phone doesn't light up with your name. And that silence, that sudden stillness, it gets real loud, real quick. Because silence is clarity. It reveals who's willing to meet you halfway. It exposes who noticed your absence versus who was only benefiting from your presence. And here's the truth most don't want to admit. Some people only love your energy, not you. They love the validation, the convenience, the way you make them feel, but not the responsibility of loving you back. So when you stop reaching out, you're not just withholding a text, interrupting the ego trip. You're removing the attention that made him feel in control. And when a man who's used to being chased suddenly isn't, he feels it. He starts to wonder, starts to scroll through old messages, starts to accidentally, like your post, starts to text, "Hey, you okay?" That's when you know your silence hit. But understand, this silence isn't a weapon. It's a boundary. It's not about manipulating someone into caring. It's about no longer offering your heart where it's not being held gently. You've got better things to do than wait for a reply that never comes. You've got dreams to chase, peace to protect, confidence to rebuild. You've got healing to do, and that healing can't happen when you're still stuck hoping he'll finally get it. So you let go. Not because you stopped caring, but because you finally started caring about yourself more. The silence becomes your power move. You don't announce it. You don't explain it. You just live it. You stop chasing closure and start creating it. You stop explaining your value and start embodying it. You become so full of your own presence that you no longer crave his. And eventually he'll notice. He always does. He'll reach for the phone. He'll test the waters. He'll send a "thinking of you" text as if that somehow resets everything. But here's where the shift happens. You're not the same woman who used to chase. You're not waiting to hear from him. You're not reading into every word. You're not sitting by the phone like your life is on hold. Because silence taught you what chaos never could. That real love doesn't need to be chased. That peace feels better than attention. And that sometimes the best, "I miss you," is the sound of your phone ringing long after you've moved on. So stop reaching out. Let your absence speak. Let your silence echo. Not as punishment, but as proof that your energy is too sacred to waste on someone who never knew what to do with it in the first place. It's not about playing games. It's about protecting your peace. When he realizes your world is moving, without waiting, he'll come running to catch up. Let's be clear, stepping back isn't manipulation. It's not some strategic silence to get a reaction or a breadcrumb of attention. It's about putting yourself first, not in a selfish way, but in a sacred one. There's a difference between disappearing to punish and distancing yourself to protect. You're not being cold, you're being careful. You're not shutting him out. You're simply choosing to stop leaving the door wide open for someone who keeps walking in and out like your heart is a hotel lobby. So many women have been taught that silence is a game, that pulling back is a tactic. But no, this isn't about playing hard to get. It's about being hard to forget because you valued your sanity over chaos. It's about choosing clarity over confusion. It's about reclaiming your rhythm, your focus, your joy, and realizing that he can either match your movement or fall behind. See, a man starts to panic when he no longer feels like the center of your universe. When your attention isn't orbiting around him, when your life doesn't slow down waiting for him to decide what he wants. that's when his own stillness becomes uncomfortable. And suddenly, your movement becomes magnetic. The truth is, peace is powerful. A woman at peace is untouchable. She's radiant, grounded, unshaken. She's not chasing, explaining, begging, or waiting. She's busy, building, healing, living, not in a loud, look at me now kind of way, but in a quiet, unstoppable flow that says, whether you come or go, I'm good. That's what makes him stop in his tracks. Because while he expected you to wait around, to freeze in place, to be on pause until he figured it out, you decided to keep going. You didn't slam doors. You didn't send dramatic texts. You just redirected your focus. And that's what stings the most, not the absence of drama, but the presence of dignity. When a woman stops waiting, her energy shifts. Her conversations change. She's no longer available for uncertainty. She doesn't entertain inconsistency. Her time becomes sacred, and her presence becomes a privilege, not a given. And let me tell you something, men feel that shift. He might not say it. He might act unfazed. He might try to keep it cool. But inside there's a storm. Because the moment he sees that you've moved on emotionally, not just physically, it hits different. The realization that your life has chapters he's not a part of anymore. That's a wake-up call. He'll wonder who's making you laugh now, who you're texting at midnight, who's filling the space he used to take up. But the truth is, it may not even be about another man. It's about you. You finally chose you. You chose mornings without stress, nights without overthinking, days without decoding messages or questioning your worth. You chose peace, and in doing so, you taught him that you're no longer willing to fight for a spot in a life that won't make room for you. And here's where it gets real. When a man senses that his presence is no longer required for your happiness, he wakes up. He calls. He texts. He reaches out like he just realized what he lost. And maybe he did. But by then, it's not about whether he comes back. It's about whether you still want what you once begged for. Because peace will teach you that love isn't supposed to be chaos. It's not supposed to keep you up at night. It's not supposed to make you feel like you're too much and still not enough. So no, you're not playing games. You're just no longer playing yourself. You're protecting your mind, your heart, your spirit. And that protection, it looks like progress. It looks like joy. It looks like him watching from the sidelines while you keep rising. You didn't move to make him chase. You moved to move on. And if he finally decides to catch up, let him. But make sure you're not shrinking yourself just to meet him where you left off. Let him rise to where you are now the best. Revenge isn't loud. It's leveling up emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and letting him feel the absence of the access he took for granted. You don't need to slam doors or scream from rooftops to prove a point. You don't need to post cryptic messages online or try to make him jealous. That's noise. And you've outgrown the need to be noisy. You've outgrown the need to perform your pain just to be seen, heard, or validated. Because the most powerful shift a woman can make is when she no longer needs to prove anything to anyone who didn't see her value the first time. That's what real elevation looks like. True revenge doesn't come in the form of shouting, blocking, or dramatic exits. It comes quietly, gracefully. It shows up when you walk away from a situation that once broke you and you rebuild. Not just on the outside, but from the inside out. It's in the way you glow differently, not from makeup or filters, but from peace, from healing, from wholeness. Because what hurts a man more than anything is not your anger, it's your evolution. He expected you to spiral, to fall apart, to call him at midnight asking why, to make him feel important through your emotional reaction. But when you go silent, when you stop fighting for someone who stopped choosing you, when you level up emotionally, mentally, and spiritually, that's when he feels it. He starts to notice that you're not texting anymore, not checking his stories, not explaining yourself, not chasing closure or clinging to a connection that only existed when it was convenient for him. That silence becomes a mirror. And for the first time, he sees what he lost. Not just a woman, but a woman who loved deeply, showed up fully, and gave more than she ever received. And now, that woman no longer grants him access to her presence, her time, her heart, or her energy. Let that sink in. Access is a privilege. And once it's gone, he feels it. He feels it in the empty inbox, in the weekends you no longer fill, in the peace you radiate without his chaos in your life. And the more you level up, the more he realizes you were never the one who needed fixing. It was always him who didn't know what to do with someone whole. Your evolution is the closure. Your healing is the revenge. Your growth is the goodbye you never had to say. Because now you're emotionally stable. You don't get triggered by breadcrumbs of attention. You don't get tempted by half-hearted apologies or late night, "I miss you" texts. You've built a foundation so strong within yourself that you no longer need someone else to hold you up. You are your own anchor, your own peace, your own rescue. And spiritually, you've elevated. You no longer pray for his return, you pray for clarity. You ask for wisdom, not wounds. You lean into purpose, not pain. You see the red flags for what they are: lessons, not invitations to prove your worth, but reminders of what you'll never settle for again. That's the real glow up. And while he's still stuck trying to replace the version of you he once had access to, you've become someone he could never reach again, even if he tried. Because you didn't just change your number, you changed your standard. You didn't just walk away, you rose. So let him feel the absence. Let him sit in the silence. Let him watch from a distance while you build a life that no longer includes him. That's not being cold. That's being healed. And if he ever comes back, looking for the version of you that once waited for the bare minimum, let him know she doesn't live here anymore. Because the woman you've become doesn't need revenge. She doesn't need to be loud. She doesn't need to clap back, prove a point, or look over her shoulder. She just lives, she just rises, she just radiates.